Assalamualaikum and hi everyone. My name is Sharifah Malaysia Izwa binti Syed Muhammad Isham and I will be the first presenter of this group. So now I will present about definition of cost reduction. Cost reduction is the process of how the company manage the cash flow by decrease or cut the unnecessary expenses to get a higher profit. There are three types that involve in identify the cost reduction, which is cost per unit can be saved, saving the things that hard to change in nature, and no compromise with the quality of the product. If the company want to implement cost reduction for the short term to reduce the operating result, it is probable focus at discretionary costs that is not likely affect the company, such as labor training costs. But if the company planning to implement cost reduction in long term to reduce the operating result, it will focus to isolate or cut the product or program that do not flow to the highest profit over a longer term. A cost reduction program may be combined with a strategic change in which previous product line and program are phased out to make room for the new corporate direction. Next is characteristic of cost reduction. First, cost reduction is not focused on setting a target, but cost reduction is the final outcome in controlling the cost. It is because cost reduction is a present and future cost. Second one is cost reduction is for increasing for a better standard purpose, since cost reduction is the process of cutting the unnecessary expenses so the company can save the budget to improve the quality of the product. Third, it's remaining constant, creative and dynamic in order to find the ways of how to decrease the cost. Maybe it is because some of the cost is hard to change since it was fixed cost, so the company need to think of how to reduce the cost. Next, it's occur in every activity of the business, since this cost is involved in saving by per unit of a product in different activities. The last one is every level of management will do some research of what they have to do. Every employee will analysis in order to identify which expenses did not important to increase their profit of the company. So we move to the next, which is objective of cost reduction. The cost reduction is to refrain from unnecessary spending. It can reveal what is the expenses which is not important that incur in the business, whether from material, labor or machine and equipment. Next, it creates systematic procedure, since the employee will think and do analysis of expenses that incur in the business. From doing that, the process to produce the good will going smoothly. Then it is enhancing the quality of the overall organization, since the company has their own budget after cut the unnecessary expenses in order to buy the material or other expenses to increase the quality in production. So the last one topic I will present is implementation of cost reduction. The first stage is determine which costs need to be reduced. For the first step in this stage is identify and know all the costs that incur in different activity of the business. Then, creating the yardstick of the business is to compare our business and other business performance. So, when it make the comparison between two companies, it can improve the business performance. The last step is analysis the opportunity of cost reduction, which is the company will assess the expenses according to their priority. The second stage is ready to provide and develop the cost reduction program. At this stage, every employee and business owner will conduct, evaluate, testing and arrange according to its priority of the expenses. The third stage is conducting the programs. For this stage, the company will make and planning the systematic strategy for every initiative. The last one stage is begin to do cost reduction, which is the company will start to implement cost reduction in the business, and it is involved with three events, which is creating a management program, execution program and remain constant program. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Hi and Assalamualaikum. My name is Nur Shifa binti Alisman and I will continue this presentation with the cost reduction advantages and disadvantages. The first advantage is it will increase the profit margin that will be used to invest. So basically, the baseline of the cost reduction increases in profit margin, which is the most sought after advantage. The company would willingly or unwillingly perform cost reduction in order to increase the profit, which will be used to invest in other business. The second one is to increase productivity. At some level, cost reduction enhance productivity because employees who have been in their comfort zone for a very long time receive a signal that the firm is into micromanagement, which is currently being processed. But going ahead, it could be micromanagement of employees as well. Last for the advantages is the improvement of process standard to enhancing processes, changes the character of current processes, or improve the product standard of information. So from here, we can see that the cost reduction helps in improving standard of the processes, since improvising processes affect the nature of working of current processes, which improves standard of formation of the product. Next is the disadvantages. Even though cost reduction is a positive step towards developing and growing the company in long run, it can cause negative vibes throughout the company and among the employees. The employees can mistake it for cost cutting and send a panic alarm throughout the company. The second one is it required changes in processes and it may be harmful and cause extra loss. For example, the budget model of iPhone 5C was a fail in the market while its counterpart 5S was a hit. It depends on how the company projects the cost reductions to the internal and external stakeholders, because sometimes cost reduction involve changing processes and not every time the change is good. The change can be harmful at times and cause additional loss instead of profit and improvement. Next, some cost reduction include the installation of one-time components such as solar panels. These few steps in cost reduction involve installing one-time components like solar panels, green equipment, or automatic light-saving appliance. By installing this, we'll take down the long-term cost, but will raise the one-time cost, which may not be compatible with every company. And the last disadvantages is it can easily backfire and fail miserably if the company work incorrectly. Wait, is it possible? It is possible that when focusing on cost reductions, the quality of the product is sacrificed and it will affect the company long-term vision by lowering the brand value, because cost reduction is a double-edged sword that must be used with cautions. If it done right, it can increase profitability without impacting significant factor. But if it was done badly, it can backfire and fail miserably. Next, I'll move on to the evolution and moving forward. The first step is by sourcing modification. Cost reduction, unlike cost cutting, it is not constrained by time. Thus, the corporation strives to change its sourcing resources and procurement. Switching to less expensive alternative or finding local produce are example of this. To cut long-term expenses, sourcing changes are made, and instead of being tied to one supplier, the company switch vendors on a regular basis for cost advantage. Next is improvising processes. A lot of companies may incorporate processes which may cost them a lot of expenses, which can be avoided. Improvising processes in order to eliminate costs can also be a strategy of cost reduction. Little modification in the manufacturing process, such as avoiding waste management processes or environmentally friendly options, can help save costs over the long run. And the third one is energy types of equipment. Corporate offices utilize a lot of energy, and these can be cost increases for the company. It can always work on energy saving equipments or going ahead with alternative sources of energy which will save costs in the long run. With office printers, stationery can always be substituted with cost saving. Alternative like going with digital copies, which will not only save paper but save electricity as well. Next is the hiring processes. An experienced expert will always demand a greater salary, but a newcomer or intern will accept a lower salary. There would be no need for experienced staff at the entry level or frontline, and the company could instead focus on strengthening its training and development team to effectively teach new hires. This also provides freshmen with industry exposure and helps the company to save a lot of remuneration. For the expense reduction is another option to lower expenses, which lower costs using video conferencing instead of travel. For example, it will significantly reduce trip expenditures per department because video conferencing costs are low in compared to travel costs. Changing travel policies to cut costs or encouraging carpooling for work commute brings down per head expenses. The last one is the product alternative. The product alternative is to appeal the various income sector of the populations. The company can devise cost-effective product alternative, so reducing expenses and producing mass profit through mass business. However, in developing the alternative economic options, effort should be taken to ensure that product quality is not compromised. And that's all for me. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Shakina binti Muhammad Zamri, and my part to present is the example and the conclusion. Cost reduction is the process of identifying and implementing ways to reduce the effect and capex of a business. In some industry, the cost per unit falls in a quarterly basis, and firm must continually find cost reduction to remain competitive. The following are the common types of cost reduction. Waste elimination. Waste elimination is identification and disposal of waste, such as waste in manufacturing process. 2 is modernization. Modernization is equipment moderation. For instance, outdated computer hardware can be ineffective in energy, and we do it with new model. So next is productivity. Productivity is the output you get for an hour work. Typically improved with automation and tools. For example, farming robots may improve the productivity of farm as work is shift from physical tasks toward knowledge work. Sourcing is outsourcing things in areas where you're not particularly efficient. For example, a small business that decides to outsource its financial accounting and tax preparation tasks. Consolidation things to make them easier to manage or to gain negotiating power. For example, manufacturer consolidates its supplier and demands step discount for the greater volume of order. Next is negotiation. Renegotiation costs, for example, a retail outlet that renegotiates rent during an industry downturn. Overhead is a looking at process, procedure, capabilities, and structure that aren't adding too much value and restarting them. Meanwhile, for perks, reducing perks such as a business class air travel and stay at luxury hotel. For scale, looking at the scale or volume of your business, for example, unit costs may fall until an existing factory reach its capacity. In this case, increasing sales through marketing effort may result in declining costs per unit. For improvement, measuring things and improving them continuously. For example, measuring process to detect expensive bottlenecks and exceptions and finding ways to remove them. For quality, cutting back on quality. This can easily backfire as it may result in lower sales value value, and revenue. In some cases, improving quality can result in long-term cost reduction in areas such as marketing costs. For example, a hotel with high ratings may be fully booked without need to advertise. For service, cutting back on service levels, such as a restaurant that cut back its business hour. This can also backfire. For example, customers may avoid a business that they perceive as often closed. And lastly, cut and run. Retiring business units, products, capabilities, and process that aren't working out. For example, Australian bank expand to Asia but find that it is a money-losing venture year after year. The decision is made to cut and run. So, for conclusion, cost concept is very essential for decision-making process, as the manager is the higher authority of any organization. There are develop different types of policies and strategy to run the business successfully. So, development of cost reduction procedure is one of the most important strategy. It is very important to develop a cost reduction procedure because it increases the profit of the firm through reducing costs of production. If the manager cannot control costs, their operating expense will be higher and therefore reducing the profit of the firm. A firm which cannot control costs cannot sustain in the competitive business world. So, to make proper investment decision, financial managers should have clear knowledge about financial principle and technique for better performance. That's all from me. Thank you.